Welcome. This lesson is all about the evolution and importance of information security standards, and we're going to tell that story through ISO 27001. Our goal here is to make this super clear and interactive, and we'll throw in real-world examples whenever we can to make sure it all clicks. So let's get right into it.
So let's start with a huge question, one that businesses and honestly all of us think about every single day, right? With all the cyber attacks out there, how can any company really prove it's safe? How do you trust them with your data? This fundamental problem is exactly why global standards are so important. They give us a common language for trust.
Okay, to really get a grip on the standard we have today, we've got to go back in time a bit. We need to see where this whole thing started, and its roots are actually in the United Kingdom. And this timeline really lays out the journey perfectly. It all kicked off in the early 90s, when the UK government was just trying to figure out some best practices. That led to a British standard, BS 7799. Part 1 was basically just guidance, helpful tips. But Part 2, that was the game changer, because it laid out the rules for actual certification. And that's a huge difference, right? It's one thing to say, here's a good idea, and a whole other thing to say, here's how you prove you're doing it right. Then, the massive moment came in 2005, when it went global and became the ISO 27001 we know today.
But as we all know, the tech world moves at lightning speed. New threats pop up all the time. So the standard couldn't just sit still, it had to evolve, and it had to do it fast. Now, the 2013 update was absolutely crucial. The first version was great, it laid the foundation. But this revision was a massive strategic move. It introduced something called Annex SL. The easiest way to think about it is like a universal blueprint for management systems. It meant that security could finally speak the same language as quality management or environmental standards. Suddenly, security wasn't stuck in its own little IT silo anymore. It was brought right into the main boardroom where it always belonged.
All right, let's jump forward to the most recent update in 2022. And this wasn't just a fresh coat of paint. This was a complete redesign built from the ground up to deal with the wild world of tech, cybersecurity, and privacy we're living in right now.
So, get this. In the 2013 version, an organization had to juggle 114 different security controls. That's a pretty long and, let's be honest, kind of intimidating checklist. And by 2022, they streamlined that all the way down to 93. But here's the key. It wasn't about making it easier by cutting stuff out. It was about making it smarter. They merged, updated, and redesigned the controls to be laser-focused on the threats we face today, getting rid of the old stuff and adding what's truly relevant now.
And to make it even more straightforward, those 93 controls are now bucketed into these 4 simple themes: organizational, people, physical, and technological. This is just so much more intuitive. Instead of a long, confusing list, you can now look at your security in a really logical way. You just ask, what are our rules? Are our people trained? Are our buildings secure? And what tech are we using to protect ourselves? It just makes sense.
And this is where the rubber really meets the road. The 2022 update brought in 11 brand new controls to tackle modern problems head-on. We're talking about things like threat intelligence, cloud security, preventing data leaks, the stuff that keeps security pros up at night. Okay, quick heads up for any organizations already certified with the old version. This deadline is a big deal. You have until October 31st, 2025 to make the switch to the new standard. After that, the old certification just won't be valid anywhere, so definitely a date to circle on the calendar. So we've walked through this whole evolution, from a British idea to a global benchmark, from 114 controls down to 93 modern ones. But what's the bottom line? Why would any organization go through all this effort? At its very core, ISO 27001 gives you a blueprint to build something called an Information Security Management System, or an ISMS. But this isn't some dusty binder that sits on a shelf. The best way to think about an ISMS is like the central nervous system for your company's security. It's a living, breathing process that's always on, always watching for threats, and always adapting to keep your information safe so the business can thrive. And this standard is your playbook for building that shield of trust. It doesn't let you just sit back and wait for bad things to happen. No, it forces you to get proactive, to hunt down your risks, to build smart defenses, to make sure you're following the law, and maybe most importantly, to never, ever stop getting better. So here's the crucial takeaway. Getting that ISO 27001 certificate isn't just a tech project for the IT team. It's a powerful business strategy. It's a way to tell the whole world, your customers, your partners, everyone, that you take this stuff seriously. And in today's world, that trust is a massive competitive advantage. And that really brings us full circle. The story of ISO 27001 and all its changes teaches us one vital lesson. Security is not a finish line. You never arrive. It's a constant journey of learning and adapting. And as tech, like AI, just keeps getting faster and smarter, the real question we're all left with is, what does being secure even mean, and how will that definition have to change next?